Section 21, Attempt to commit offence. We got to the court with all the suspects, and the 5-count charge was read to their hearing. They all pleaded not guilty to the various count charges. They were all granted bail with 2 sureties and were remanded till the bail processes were met. Jumai's mother was quite happy with the good job my team and I had done. She told me Jumai had regained consciousness. She made a video call to her via WhatsApp, and she showed appreciation for getting justice. I was about leaving the courtroom when Jumai's mother introduced me to an elderly couple. They also complained that their daughter had a criminal case she wished to report regarding the school management team, and that the management team had disregarded the merit of the case. The courtroom was rather busy for me to concentrate on what they were trying to report, so I suggested we all go back to my office. The couple was there to report a case of rape, and the victim of the alleged rape was their 19-year-old daughter, Sumisola, who had accompanied her parents to my office. I asked my female IPO to listen to her while I attended to the parents, who had told me what they knew about the case. The male and female sections of the school were having a 2-week activity program, which allowed the males random access to a hall located in the female school. The female school also had a guest hotel where parents who came to visit their kids could lodge. But given the large turnout of students from other schools that came for the program, those that could afford the guest hotel were allowed to stay there. Their daughter, Sumisola, was one of the students from other schools, so she lodged in one of the rooms with 3 other students. Given the current situation of things, it was somewhat hard to separate the male students from the female students as they shared a passageway. The victim's father lamented that he personally complained he was not comfortable with the number of boys walking around freely in that building, and they all had rooms to themselves. His complaint forced the management of the hotel to relocate the boys to a separate floor, but it almost led to a riot, as the boys all insisted they would not leave the rooms they paid for, as reflected on their receipts. The father stated that he was not the least surprised when Sumisola complained that one of the boys raped her. He tried taking the matter up, but the management showed him CCTV footages of how most of the girls were skimpily dressed. My female IPO came back with Sumisola. She told us that the whole thing was a setup and that her 2 roommates played a major role in it. They had pretended to have lost the key card to their room and asked Sumisola to follow them to Deji's hotel room, which was a room and parlor suite where he stayed alone. When Sumisola got to Deji's place with her 2 roommates, Deji was having a party with 5 of his friends, 3 males and 2 females. Sumisola felt relaxed since there were 4 other ladies there. One of the other 2 ladies offered her and her roommates drinks. Unknown to her, her own drink was laced with sleeping pills. After a few sips, she began to feel drowsy. As much as she could tell what was going on, she couldn't stop or fight back when Deji carried her on his shoulder to his room. He slammed her on the bed and jumped on her. Somehow, she was able to muster enough strength to resist Deji, who was currently on top of her, struggling to take her clothes off. He eventually used his teeth to tear her blouse. He pinned her down on the bed with his left hand and used his right hand to pull out his private parts. Sumisola tried to fight, but the effect of the drug mitigated against that, and Deji was already between her legs. Still holding her down on the bed with his left hand, he used the right hand to tear her panties. He was about to make his way into her when he suddenly ejaculated. This triggered an instant change in his disposition. He released his hold on Sumisola, who slowly sat up in bed. She used her torn clothes to wipe off Deji's semen, which was on her body. She started crying as she finished her story. I had only 2 questions for her. When did this incident happen? and where was her torn blouse and panties? She sniffed, wiped the tears from her eyes, and took a deep breath. They're in my room at home, sir, she said. I explained to her that those were the only vital evidence we had to prove the case. I also corrected her impression that from her story, Deji did not succeed in raping her. He only attempted to do so, and as such, could only be charged with Section 21 of the Criminal Laws of Lagos State 2015. The torn clothes and underwears were sent to a DNA lab, and Deji was invited to give samples. His lawyer frowned deeply at this, mounting legal resistance, till I confronted him with Section 11 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015, which read, Examination of arrested suspect. Where a suspect is in lawful custody on a charge of committing an offense of such nature and alleged to have been committed in such circumstance that there are reasonable grounds for believing that an examination of his person will afford evidence as to the commission of the offense, a qualified medical practitioner or any certified professional with relevant skills acting at the request of a police officer may make such an examination of the suspect in custody as is reasonably necessary in order to ascertain the facts which may afford the evidence and to use such force as reasonably necessary for that purpose. After he read through the section, I introduced him to the medical personnel from the DNA lab and gave his client the option of going quietly or we introduce reasonable force as directed in the section. 2 weeks later, the test result came back. As expected, the DNA samples on the torn fabrics matched the specimen gotten from Deji.
This work of fiction is a production of COSPEAKS, composed and written by Chidi Okoye, narrated by Ikenna Igwe, sound production by Glaze Entertainment, graphics by Illustroking Creatives, video production by Chachi World Entertainment, video editing by Stevie Beleche Triple Nolly TV, technical support by Kings Media. Thank you for viewing.